News first at noon, a judge has set President-elect Donald Trump's sentencing date in his hush money case for January 10th. That's just over a week before he's set to return to the White House. Mr. Trump will be sentenced on 34 counts of falsifying business records to conceal payments to an adult film star ahead of the 2016 election, but he will not be jailed. In a ruling issued by Judge Juan Merchan, he says Mr. Trump will be sentenced to what's known as a conditional discharge, which basically means the case gets dismissed if the defendant avoids rearrest. To our other big story, the Honolulu medical examiner has released the identities of two of the victims killed in the New Year's Day fireworks disaster in Aliamanu. They are 58-year-old Nellie Ibarra and 23-year-old Jennifer Van. The medical examiner said the cause and manner of death in both cases are still pending. The third victim's identity has not been released yet. We're also told some of the hospitalized victims have war zone type injuries that Hawaii doesn't have the resources to treat. This GoFundMe page says new parents Melissa and Kevin were among the 21 survivors who were severely injured, and that Melissa is one of those who will be transferred out of state because there are no available beds in Oahu's burn units. Mahealani Richardson has more on that.
We spoke in a one-on-one interview with Governor Green, and he told us that 6 of the burn victims will be flown to the mainland.
The deadly New Year's fireworks blast critically injured 21 people with burns and other horrific injuries.
The level of the explosion also caused some damage to people's internal organs.
Governor Green told Hawaii News Now they're being treated at Queens and Straub medical centers and will be transported on a U.S. military plane to the continent for highly specialized care at mainland hospitals.
6 patients will likely go over to Arizona by C-17 flight. I authorized that last night. They are stabilized right now. We are putting together burn teams.
Those teams include Tripler Army Medical Center, Hawaii hospital leaders, the State Department of Health, and the head of the city's Emergency Services Department. Green says 2 of the burn victims are under 5 years old, and EMS confirmed 1 victim is a 3-year-old boy who was taken to Kapi'olani Medical Center in critical condition.
What can you say about this boy and the family?
That we're heartbroken for the family. The boy may or may not survive, and everyone should hear that and know that when they light off an aerial firework, if it goes wrong, a child could be nearby.
Besides the children, officials say that most of the victims are in their 20s and 30s. Reporting from Honolulu, Hale, Mahealani Richardson, Hawaii News Now.
Thank you, Mahea. Happening now in West Oahu, officers are at the scene of a shooting in Makaha Valley involving a juvenile. DLNR's Division of Conservation and Resources Enforcement says the shooting is possibly related to hunting activities. The weapon has been seized and there is no danger to the public. Officials say the male victim with a gunshot wound was flown out of the area in an HFD helicopter and taken to a hospital. An investigation is underway into what happened. We're only 3 days into the new year, and we've learned about the first traffic fatality on Oahu. This one is in the Ka'aava area. It happened at around 6:45 p.m. yesterday near the intersection of Kamehameha Highway and Makua Village Road. We're told a 22-year-old man was traveling southbound on Kamehameha Highway before crashing into a driver who was trying to turn onto the highway. That's when the man and his passenger, a woman in her 20s, were ejected onto the roadway. EMS took the 2 to the hospital with the man in serious condition and the woman in critical. She later died. The driver attempting to turn had no reported injuries. HPD tells us speed, drugs, and alcohol do not appear to be factors. Well, the first day of the new Congress brought an immediate challenge electing the Speaker of the House. In a somewhat strange twist of events, current Speaker and frontrunner Mike Johnson did not get enough votes in the initial tally, yet he still managed to win on the first vote. CBS's Nydia Cavazos explain how that happened.
The new Congress was called to order at noon with an immediate task at hand, electing the Speaker of the House.
The name of the Honorable, Mike Johnson.
President-elect Trump endorsed Johnson this week in his fight to keep his job. Conference Chair Lisa McClain made the case for the Louisiana Republican.
He is steadfast in his values of faith, family, and love of this country.
Alford Johnson.
Then came the pivotal vote, and Johnson failed to get a majority. After a brief break, since the initial vote hadn't been officially tallied yet, South Carolina Representative Ralph Norman and Keith Self from Texas were convinced to change their votes.
Mr. Self Johnson.
Bringing Johnson a win.
The Honorable Mike Johnson of the state of Louisiana, having received a majority of the votes cast, is duly elected Speaker of the House of Representatives for the 119th Congress.
The path of prosperity has long been paved with policies that put America and Americans first. And that is what we will champion in the 119th Congress.
No other business could unfold until the speaker was chosen, with a slim margin of only a couple possible defections to ensure re-election.
Republicans now control both chambers of Congress for the first time since 2019. Donald Trump promises an ambitious list of changes with the help of lawmakers.
We need to unify so that we can move the Trump agenda.
Next week brings the certification of Trump's White House win. Nidia Cavazos, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
The FBI and other federal agencies are now expressing concern about possible copycat attacks after a driver rammed a truck into a crowd on Bourbon Street Wednesday, killing 14 people and injuring dozens more. Omar Villafranca has the latest from New Orleans.
There was new law enforcement activity Friday at the Houston area home of the driver who plowed a truck into a Bourbon Street crowd on New Year's Day in New Orleans. A vehicle was removed from his residence. In the wake of Wednesday's carnage, the FBI and other agencies are warning about possible copycat attacks.
I think we are always concerned about any behavior that may drive other violent behavior.
The agencies issued an intelligence bulletin overnight that said this tactic is likely to remain attractive for aspiring attackers, given vehicles' ease of acquisition and the low skill threshold necessary to conduct an attack. The FBI says the perpetrator, Shamsuddin Jabbar, proclaimed his support for ISIS before the rampage.
I'm shocked.
Jabbar's brother, who requested that we hide his face, said he saw nothing to suggest Jabbar was being radicalized.
He's been a practicing Muslim since he was a kid and everything, and I think he took a step away from the religion at some point in his life, and then he came back into it.
In New Orleans Friday, a memorial pays tribute to the victims.
I miss him so much, and I love him so much.
Jack Besh's brother, former Princeton football player Martin Tiger Besh, was among those killed.
And now each day on will be the hardest day of my life, just living there knowing I can't speak to him ever again.
President Biden and the First Lady plan to visit New Orleans Monday to grieve with the community. Omar Villafranca, CBS News, New Orleans.
On Maui, a multi-agency response is underway after the discovery of a dead humpback whale calf in Kihei. Teams are towing the whale remains offshore as requested by Native Hawaiian cultural practitioners. The State Land Department, NOAA, Maui Ocean Safety, UH, and the Hawaiian Islands Humpback Whale National Marine Sanctuary are all involved in the recovery. Well, we're getting an inside look at the training police officers go through to prepare them for life or death decisions on the job. Chelsea Davis shows us the rule every Maui officer must know.
Today's topic is the 21-foot rule.
A rule that could determine life or death. That's what Maui Police Sergeant Nolan Wada is teaching me today.
It's based on a scientific study that came in 1983 that found that the time it takes an average person to sprint 21 feet is about the same time it takes an officer to draw and fire a weapon.
It's a rule all recruits learn during a 5.5-month training academy to deal with situations that are almost always more complex than they appear.
Someone unfamiliar with the realities of armed assault might ask, why didn't the officer just back up? Well, many times officers do try to add distance by backing up, but it isn't that simple. An officer facing an advancing assailant and backing away to create distance is at a profound and potentially fatal speed and spatial disadvantage.
After my class, I was put to the test. I was unable to even get my firearm out in time. The red markings on my white shirt are from a marker, indicating where I would have gotten stabbed. This is the view from my GoPro. I tried multiple times. I could not get my firearm out in time.
Our recruits go through 144 hours of defense training. You know, a lot of it deals with edge weapon defense, making decisions, reacting, creating space, creating distance, all of the things that are necessary to effectively defend themselves from an edge weapon.
Deadly force is always a last resort for officers under attack. These are the numbers of suspects shot and killed by police in each county in the last 5 years. Police continually train to protect themselves and avoid taking lives, but nothing compares to a real-life situation, and officers often face a public backlash.
It's really difficult because we live in the community. We hear what everyone says, but ultimately, as long as we do what our policy and training has trained us to do, you know, there's some level of comfort knowing we did what we had to do. We did our job, you know, that we really didn't have a choice in that situation.
Sergeant Wada asks the community to keep this training in mind when officers are put to the test. Reporting in Wailuku, Chelsea Davis, Hawaii News Now.
Thank you very much. Here we go in the midday. Let's give you your first alert weather headlines. First of all, smaller waves today on the north and west facing shorelines. They were advisory yesterday. They're lower today, but by Sunday, they're going to be warning size. So kind of a heads up there. Southerly winds also in the forecast for today. We're going to have these southerly winds all the way through till next week, Tuesday. So kind of heads up there. Also, that's going to mean foggy conditions. We'll dive into this. We'll go a little bit more deeper into the weather forecast coming up in a few moments.
Thank you so much, Billy. Ahead on This Is Now, as the Century Tournament tees off on Maui, a look at how the event is giving back to the local community. Plus this.
The U.S. Surgeon General is sounding the alarm about alcohol use and cancer risk. I'm Bradley Blackburn with why he wants a new warning label added to alcoholic beverages.
Welcome back. The Century Tournament is underway on Maui, bringing a much-needed boost to the local economy. But that's not the only way the event helps the community. Casey and Guy are on Maui with more.
Yeah, well, it's come that time. Although the tournament goes till Sunday, unfortunately our time at the Century is over here in Kapolua. We've had a lot of fun though, Guy. I can't complain.
The food has been amazing, and for a golf fan to see the best of the best, 59 of the best in the world here at Kapolua, watching their talent and watching them around town too, was really, really a treat.
Yeah, you got MC the Pro. I mean, we had 15 golfers that were new to the tournament this year.
Yeah, 15 new golfers, and some of them are doing quite well already. So it's going to be an exciting weekend because the scoring is going to be absolutely crazy with the light winds and the mostly dry conditions.
And remind me one more time what the purse and the winner takes home.
Well, $3.6 million? That's a lot of shekels.
That is. And so, you know, we've been highlighting, of course, the world-class golf, the world-class food, but we've also been telling the story of how the Century Tournament is here to stay in West Maui and helping out Maui as a whole. You know, earlier today we featured Pu'ukukui, the watershed, and the work that they're doing is really incredible, especially when you consider all this community has gone through and how important restoring native plants are. We caught up with them a little earlier, talking about some of the work they're doing just beyond the course.
The start of 2025, we started Aloha Pu'ukukui, which is a nonprofit dedicated to keeping Mauna Kahalawai and Pu'ukukui watershed going as much as we possibly can. We planted 3 koa trees, and every year we bring out the defending champion and plant koa trees. That way we take them out into the preserve out here, and we have a place at Waukele, Honolulu, where we do outplanting. We got a 30-acre restoration site. We're changing that back into a native forest.
Pu'ukukui isn't the only agency benefiting from the generosity of the Century Tournament, right?
Yeah, we talked to Jason Ikonomu. He is the president and CEO of Maui United Way. The Century has made a multi-million-dollar contribution to a lot of different organizations, but really focusing, especially with the help of Maui United Way, on youth mental health.
The partnership that Century has built with Maui United Way has allowed us to help so many people that have been impacted by the devastating fires of August 2023. And so through this partnership, we've been able to launch the Century Malama Nakeki initiative, and that's allowed us to serve over 5,000 individual youth who have been impacted by the fires and provide mental health services. It's going to be a long road to recovery. A lot of people are still hurting, a lot of people are still suffering, and a lot of needs still need to be met. But Century has this commitment. They've been an incredible resource to us, not just financially, but professionally. Yeah. And we are so grateful for their help, and the Maui community is on a great path.
So, guys, as we say goodbye here in Kapalua, I'm sad.
Yeah, sad.
I'm just grateful for all the people we've talked to. We're grateful for the Century Tournament, the Century Insurance folks that have been so kind and helpful, setting all this up, sharing their story, which is an important story to share.
And it's really nice to see Maui on its healing journey and how important this tournament is and how much support they get from the Maui community too.
Yeah, so from us to the Century and to you at home for hanging out with us this last couple of days, mahalo. That's going to do it for Sunrise on the road. Aloha.
Thank you, guys. See you soon. Well, beverages containing alcohol should carry a health warning label about cancer risk. That's according to a new advisory from the U.S. Surgeon General. Bradley Blackburn has the details.
U.S. Surgeon General Dr. Vivek Murthy has released a new advisory warning about alcohol use and cancer risk. It says alcohol consumption is the 3rd leading preventable cause of cancer in the U.S. after tobacco and obesity, increasing the risk for at least 7 cancers, including breast, colorectum, esophagus, liver, mouth, throat, and voice box, regardless of what type of alcohol is consumed.
When a Surgeon General sends such a message, it can be very important. I'm hoping this will have the same change that we saw with tobacco in 1964.
Alcoholic beverages currently have warnings about birth defects if consumed by pregnant women. Dr. Murthy is calling for an updated warning label to include cancer risk. Alcohol is responsible for 100,000 cases of cancer and 20,000 cancer deaths annually. Dr. Akhil Anand is an addiction psychiatrist with the Cleveland Clinic.
Alcohol is really good at breaking down protein, and our whole body's made out of protein. And over time, it causes damage to cells, inflammation. It really, not just cancer, it causes more than 200 different diseases in the body, directly or indirectly.
Advisories from the Surgeon General are reserved for public health concerns needing urgent awareness and action. In recent years, Dr. Murthy has issued other calls to action on mental health, firearm violence, and social media. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
Before we go to break, here's a look at your 7-day forecast. You can see the trade winds are going away. There's some high surf and even some rain by the end of Thursday. Billy V is going to have your full forecast in 2 minutes.
All right, thank you very much. Let's take a look at your first alert weather, the waves, 8 to 12 over the North Shore, 6 to 8 over on the west side. This is lower than it was yesterday, but it's going to go back up coming up on Sunday. This will be warning size, so just kind of a heads up there. A little bit bigger over on the south-facing shoreline. East side is 2 to 4 feet. We're getting some dynamic sunrises and sunsets. We'll talk more about that in a couple of moments. Here's what your day is going to be looking like. Well, of course, we started out this morning with northeasterly winds. The winds are turning southeasterly now this hour, and then we'll get some southerly Kona winds, which will once again take us all the way through to next Tuesday. I do want to show you, this is Kilauea volcano. It's a photo that was snapped of Halemaumau crater, the caldera of Kilauea, at about 3 a.m. this morning. And the reason why I'm showing you this is I'm showing you that the volcano is still active. How does that play into our 7-day forecast? Yesterday we had the trade winds. Today they go bye-bye, and then it's light and variable winds into Kona winds into next week, Tuesday or so, or Tuesday, Wednesday. So that means with the Kona winds, it's going to bring all of that fog and haze up towards all of the rest of the island. So that means statewide, we could be seeing the fog maybe the later part of today, but definitely by tomorrow. And then as we go through all the way Wednesday, we got a cold front that's coming up on Thursday. That's going to bring us a little bit more rain and hopefully scrub our skies clean. Your 7-day forecast right here on Hawaii News Now. Back to more with This Is Now.
The 82nd Golden Globes Awards are just days away. I'm Danya Backus with a look at what you can expect in the final preparations for the show.
Let's end this show with some good news. Hollywood's award season kicks off this weekend with the 82nd Golden Globes airing right here on CBS. Danya Backus gives us a sneak peek of what we can expect from the show.
The red carpet is rolled out, and the stage is set for Hollywood's Party of the Year. The Golden Globes Awards will be hosted by comedian and actress Nikki Glazer. She makes history as the first woman to solo host the show. She says she's been rehearsing since November.
On Sunday, when I'm done, when I walk off stage from the monologue, to just go backstage after that and just feel like, you know what, whatever it was, good or bad, I couldn't have done better.
The Globes is not only the first award show of the season, but the largest one to honor the best in film and television. Gray Drake is an entertainment journalist and film correspondent.
The Golden Globes definitely sets a tone. They bring the fun, and if they deliver the fun, then everyone feels like they're in their zone. Award season is going to be great.
Are you English?
Netflix's Emilia Perez leads the film categories this year with 10 nominations, including Best Comedy or Musical.
It did not surprise me at all that Emilia Perez has the most nominations this year, because what an unbelievably audacious movie.
We're getting a sneak peek at the stage where the awards will be handed out on Sunday, and also a glimpse of why they call this the Party of the Year. That's because celebrities like Coleman Domingo and Melissa McCarthy will be sitting at the same table eating a gourmet meal and drinking lots of champagne. Producers say this year's show is specially tailored to the viewer.
We want you to feel like you're at the Party of the Year, not just watching the Party of the Year.
Why are you doing this?
We're going to get a start.
On the television side, The Bear leads with 5 nominations, followed by Only Murders in the Building and Shogun with 4 nominations each. Danya Backus, CBS News, Beverly Hills, California.
So many shows I need to catch up on. And finally, if you've never seen a cow fly, well, you're in luck. Here is your chance. Firefighters say this cow was airlifted to safety after falling into a crevasse in Italy. Now, this video from New Year's Eve shows it being flown back onto higher ground. Firefighters say the cow slipped off a cliff, but is now being cared for by a veterinary team after its rescue. Some good news there. All right, we're going to leave you with one last look outside with our tower cam. Thanks for watching This Is Now. More news first at 4 right here on KHNL. Aloha.